We interrupt this program to bring you...
I want to make it my personal mission, my holiday to-do list, to find you and to end you and to wipe my ass with you in this whole fucking holiday. That's what I want for Christmas, Santa.
That is a terrible thing to want for Christmas.
Maybe you and I should discuss that in person.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin.
And I'm Julie.
And we are The Real Movie Guys. It's December, so you know what that means. Real Christmas. Real Christmas is a special event where we review all your favorite holiday movies. And today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Violent Night. When a group of mercenaries attack the estate of a wealthy family, Santa Claus must step in to save the day and Christmas. So, Julie, there's been a lot of different Santa Claus movies. Even this year, I think we talked about the Santa Claus series with Tim Allen being the more family-friendly end. But surprisingly, when you look at it, there are a lot of like horror, violent-inspired Santa Claus movies. I don't know if you're familiar with the Silent Night series. That's like a horror movie Santa Claus where he's like a serial killer.
I've heard of it. I've never watched it.
Yeah, it's way more of a common thing than you would think. So Santa Claus being included in just like crazy weird scenarios isn't that uncommon. And when I first saw the trailer for Violent Night, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was super excited for it, right? I mean, David Harbour, when you look at the guy, I wish he was the perfect Hellboy. He definitely wasn't, but I'll settle for the perfect Santa Claus, okay? Because when I see him, he radiates that to me.
He is one of the internet's daddies after Stranger Things, and what better role than to be Father Christmas himself?
No, I agree, and the fact that you also have John Leguizamo in this movie, which we'll talk a little bit about soon, that's just icing on a already sugary cake, in my opinion. I love it.
Can't go wrong with some JL, John Leguizamo.
Yeah, so Violent Night, like I said, from the outset, it looks incredibly corny, incredibly cheesy, and it is, right? By all accounts, this movie is. It's exactly what the trailer portrays it as. If you have a chance before you even look at this review, the trailer is essentially John Wick meets Die Hard, meets also You're Next, if you're familiar with that horror movie. It's very similar to it in that vein.
With a sprinkling of Home Alone.
A sprinkling of Home Alone, which we'll talk about that too. But again, from the outset, I thought this movie was incredibly fun. I had a crazy good time. If you're looking for hyper-violent Santa Claus doing things that you should never have to see, this is that movie. There's not necessarily that much of it. I was actually a little bit let down, I think, by the violence. What did you think, Julie? Do you think it was a little over the top? Like, was it enough for you, or?
I think it was enough. It wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be, but some moments were especially gory. I don't know if we're really going into spoiler zone, but I definitely had some oohs and oohs.
Yeah, no, there's for sure some scenes where it makes you cringe a little bit. Not as much as maybe I was expecting, but hey, that could just be me being desensitized to all kinds of violence. But yeah, I had a really good time with this movie. And you know what? It does have a little bit of heart, I have to say. I think David Harbour actually did try in this movie. He's an actor where, again, I know I'm jaded, right? I hated him in Hellboy. I think he did a disservice to that movie. It's a bad movie, and it was his fault along with the writing, directing. There's a lot of issues, but David Harbour was part of that. Everything else, though, he usually pops up. I know, and everything else he pops in, David Harbour usually gives a great performance. Stranger Things, he's fantastic in. He also showed up in Black Widow. He showed up in as well, and he was fantastic. Violent Night seems like one of those movies where he gave a crap. He did try, and it's ultimately successful. His Santa Claus, who's kind of just sick of all the bad, naughty people in the world, and he's just kind of he's kind of over it, and then him coming to terms with his existence and what maybe he wants out of life, who he wants to be. That's an interesting turn for a Santa Claus movie. I can't really say I've seen that too often. Usually it's a matter of the origin of becoming Santa. This is more about staying Santa Claus and what it means to be Santa Claus, which I think that's a cool turn. And again, I had more heart than I thought.
Yeah, or normally it's like Santa trying to get somebody else to believe and stay in the spirit, but it's like a role reversal where there's a character that encourages Santa to, find the magic of Christmas again.
Right, exactly. And this movie also has some fun aspects to it too. Where I also like the idea where there's magic used throughout the movie, and it's silly. It's insane. Him popping up chimneys and doing crazy stuff. And I like the idea where whenever it's brought up to him, Santa, he says, "I don't know how it works. It's magic." And that's Christmas magic. But that's it. There's no further explanation given because he doesn't know. He just knows it happens. It's part of the holiday. It's part of his life. That's all there is to it. And, sometimes the simplest explanations are the best. Unlike in, like, the Santa Claus, that series with Tim Allen that we were talking about this year, they always tried to have some kind of explanation as to why everything was what it was. This movie's like, no, you're not really here for that. So we're just going to say it's magic, and there you go. That's your explanation.
It's also just like the belief of the season. Like, you believe in the magic, and the magic's there, and it's going to do what it needs to do.
Yeah, and you know what? And it works, right? Entirely. I think this movie really does a good job with that. And not even just David Harbour's performance, but like I said before, John Leguizamo's in this movie. And he is chewing the scenery like nothing I've seen him recently. And this man goes by his code name, which is Julie.
Scrooge. Call me Scrooge.
Fantastic. And he has some one-liners in this movie. Holy shit. I kid you not. I was cracking up. And the fact that he just played it so straight-laced and serious, I love it. John Leguizamo steals the show. I think even more so than David Harbour in this movie. He was fantastic. And they have good chemistry together. They do battle towards the end of the movie. We won't go too much into the detail of it, but it's the payoff's there. I will say that. All the build up to it. John Leguizamo just crushing the family with all his like crazy one-liners and stuff like that. It worked. It worked really, really well in my opinion. That being said, the action scenes I thought were actually phenomenally well done. This director, Tommy Wirkola, his name is, he did the Hansel and Gretel film, which had Jeremy Renner in it. I don't know, Julie, I don't think you've seen it, but
no, I know of it, but
it's a little low key sleeper hit for me. I do enjoy that movie. Those scenes actually in those movies, they're a little bit underrated because I thought the action scenes were phenomenal in that movie, and that kind of carries over into Violent Night. So it's nice to see he knows how to shoot the action. Clearly, there is inspiration from like John Wick and whatnot, that style of action. So if you're not into that, I know we've seen like Nobody pop up recently. That's been one. It follows in a similar vein as far as that style of action, not necessarily the movie, but the style of action, where a lot of quick camera cuts, not too much happening in camera. They try to, but a lot of it is more, I think, cut, which is a little bit of a negative with this movie. Julie, you actually pointed out a couple times when we were watching it. A lot of inconsistencies, a lot of very ugly camera cuts in this film.
I only noticed that one time, and I'm not like a continuity person, but there was one scene where it was clear, like he had his hair like up in the top knot, which I loved. Santa Claus with the top knot, and then it cut back, and he had it down, and then back again to the top knot.
Yeah, and
so it's just kind of jarring. You know,
it is jarring.
And it's a nitpick, but you said that there was more than that.
There's more than that. Just a lot of angles. You can tell just they weren't cohesive. There's a lot of different angles, some weird choices as far as stylization. I always like to keep things consistent when I see a movie being made. Fortunately, this movie didn't handle that very well, in my opinion. But again, I don't think it takes away from it. The hyper violence is there, and again, I do wish there was a little bit more. I think. That actually goes into the big problem I have with this movie. So a lot of you are gonna, I think, get a kick out of this movie, especially with the action and the violence. But the main problem I have with this is just very messy and disorganized.
Yeah.
And that tends to happen a lot when you have a director, I think, who knows what he wants as far as like his action set pieces. But as far as like stringing them along, I think is a little bit of the problem. Because early on, we understand like what's happening with Santa, right? We see, he's at a bar, he's getting drunk, he's talking about the holiday season. Then we jump into the family right away and what's going on with the family visiting the grandmother, and they're getting ready for Christmas, and then they go into literally a Die Hard situation where the John Leguizamo comes in, kidnaps everybody, and then we go right back to Santa. Like, it keeps cutting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and I want to say a lot of it's not really that interesting, especially with the family. I know the one character, which is kind of funny. I think her name is Eddie Patterson. She revives her. She plays a similar role to she does in Righteous Gemstones, which is a fantastic show if you haven't seen it. She's literally just playing that same character in this show. That was a little jarring for me.
Judy Gemstone.
Yeah, Judy Gemstone. She's playing her. And then also we have Beverly D'Angelo, who is Christmas royalty. Ellen from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So it's nice to see her in this movie. But, you know, the part of the problem may be even that they're trying to make these characters very unlikable throughout the whole
show. They're extremely unlikable.
Throughout the whole movie, they're pretty much unlikable. But that makes me not like them or care about them, which that's a different thing. I should be able to care about these characters even if I don't like them, because Santa has to save them. So if I don't care, then why am I watching this movie? It becomes kind of jarring at some points.
Yeah, you only care about the little girl, really. And even then, she's kind of annoying, but that's classic kid character.
Right. No, I agree with you. And also the actor who plays the father, his name is escaping me, but I already have horrible PTSD from when he played Vicious in the Cowboy Bebop live action series. He should not be acting. I'm sorry. That man should not be in anything. I can't stand him. Alex Hassel. Alex Hassel. It came to me as soon as you said it. He is terrible. I'm sorry. I could not like his character, and it's not because he was vicious in Cowboy Bebop. Trust me, that didn't help. But it's just terrible in this movie.
He is like a bargain bin Rami Malek.
Maybe that's being generous, because I think even bargain bin Rami Malek would be a better actor than Alex Hassel. I'm sorry. Maybe he'll show up in something later and prove me wrong, but right now he's not winning me over. That ties into a lot of it. Like, the low points of this movie feel really low. You know, there were a lot of times where I was kind of like twiddling my thumbs. If they're trying to mirror Die Hard so much, you have to wonder why they didn't take maybe a little more inspiration with the pacing for Die Hard, where we got to know John McClane's character. This movie, we really didn't get to know Santa until, again, towards the latter end of the movie is really when this started coming together, and we started to see like what he wanted and what his character was about. I really wish they took, again, they wanted to borrow so heavily from the plot and the homage, if you will, to the Die Hard series. They really should have took a little bit better notes, I guess. If you're going to copy homework, maybe you should copy a little bit closer at that point.
I felt like there were some inconsistencies too. I'm trying to tread lightly, where like the beginning of the movie was definitely more of like a Die Hard, where he like could fight, but he didn't really want to, and he wasn't like super experienced. Like he was, you know, kind of winging it. And inept in some ways, but then you get a backstory that shows that he really is more skilled in some areas than you would expect. Yeah, maybe with a specific thing.
Yeah, I'll say it. Santa has a Nordic origin. I'm not going to go too detailed, but he has a Nordic. Yeah, and it's insane, and it's very cool. It's very cool. But like you said, it's very. If you're trying to show that the character is trying to be restrained, maybe in their actions, maybe you had to do that a little better. You know, because that didn't come across. That wasn't really, it felt very, like, out of left field. Like, oh, by the way, I'm, like, a Nordic ancient person who did battle with a giant hammer all these years. It feels random, and...
The only thing, it did feel random. The only thing I could maybe say to, like, excuse it, like, his weaknesses earlier in the film was, like, that wasn't his, like, weapons of choice.
Yeah.
And then when he got that hammer, he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just very sloppy. And again, that just ties back to, like I said, very messy and disorganized as far as the pacing and just the telling of the actual story, which also leads it to being a little bit too predictable for my favor. I kind of figured it out like pretty much right away. You can figure out what the twist is going to be towards the end of the movie. It's not a huge twist, but
it's not a huge twist.
You know,
it was a little tamer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, they could have had more fun with it, which I think that goes into this.
I think that would have been a better payoff, and it would have made more sense to other stuff in the plot.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of the problem I have too with this movie. It feels a little restrained, you know, at times where I think they kind of held back. You know, there were times where I thought, if you're gonna go like batshit crazy with a Santa Claus who's John Wicking people and attacking and fighting, it felt a little restrained for my taste. I think maybe that goes into the whole me wanting a little bit more of the violence aspect of it. It just felt a little too restrained. Like they kind of cut in a lot of like gross humor early on, especially very early on.
That was
and
bizarre,
it was very like two different movies. You know, it doesn't come back, which is great. Thank God it didn't come back because it was weird and it was unnecessary. And then you go later on. We kind of mentioned this also has a little bit of Home Alone in it. The Home Alone part didn't do it for me. Like, why is this in the movie? It felt so out of place when we had this consistent, like, Santa Claus kind of action movie via Die Hard, and then for some reason you just wanted to throw in a literal Home Alone, like real life Home Alone scene. That's really what.
However, some of that was my biggest oomph moment.
It was, and it is, and it's great for what it is. But again, as far as a cohesive package with the rest of the movie, I don't think it was necessary. Yeah,
no, true. I mean, it gave the kids something to do.
Yeah, and it's strange because I really didn't care. Like you said, she was kind of annoying at times. So I wasn't.
She was. I know she was supposed to be the heart. That she was the motivator for David Harbour Santa, but
yeah, exactly. But nonetheless, I think Violent Night is really a good time. I don't want to. I come off like I'm sounding super negative about this, but if you're into like the action movie, if you have something you just want to throw on in the background, like I said, me and Julie just decided, hey, let's just check this out. It was a good time. You're getting what you see is what you get. Bloody Santa with a hammer is what you're going to expect in this movie. As long as you're not going expecting a masterpiece, I really don't see you being disappointed. Not that this is a masterpiece, but as far as it goes, as far as an offbeat Christmas movie, I think it's going to have a place on the shelf on the viewing list. What do you think, Julie?
Oh, definitely. It's not a yearly thing, but it was definitely very fun. I would watch it again for sure. Yeah, so it was very entertaining.
Yeah, so I think when we go to our final scores, I'm going to give Violent Night a C+.
There you go. Oh, stocking stuffer.
Something about Christmas time. Something about Christmas. Just tell me Christmas will never go away.
Again, it isn't the best movie. I had a good time. I really enjoyed it. David Harbour's fun. John Leguizamo steals the show. It's Die Hard with a murderous John Wick Santa Claus. That's exactly what this is. As long as you go in knowing that, you're going to have a great time. The finale, I'm not going to spoil it for you, with John Leguizamo and David Harbour. That was beautiful. That was a thing of beauty. If you can, check it out as soon as you can. It's a fun movie. Again, I think I'll be revisiting this down the line. Hopefully every couple of years. Maybe not, if not every year, maybe every other year. Just it's worth checking out. Julie, where do you stand with this film?
I'm going to give Violent Night a C+ as well.
I'm gonna take a lump of coal, each and every one of them, and shove it straight up
the ass.
Come on, sweetie. We want to keep it on the nice list,
Overall, really fun time. I found myself laughing a lot. I found myself getting the cringe from some of the violence a lot. You have David Harbour, so what's not to love as Father Christmas, Santa Claus. A lot of great one-liners from him and our friend John Leguizamo.
Yeah. I mean, with some of that dialogue, they're all ending up on the naughty list this year because, it was a good time.
He had one moment where he was talking to the girl. I think she cursed, and he's like, really need you to stay on the nice list or something. It was so cute. I loved it.
David Harbour being David Harbour dad mode right there. Just
David Harbour dad mode. We're all here for it.
But yeah, if you guys can, definitely check out Violent Night. It is currently available on digital platform streaming. I believe it has a July Blu-ray release, so if you can wait till July, check it out in July. But as of right now, just stream it. It is available currently on Vudu. That's where we streamed it. But thank you guys all so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. Over there, that's Julie. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We'll catch you next time.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
If you guys like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search The Real Movie Guys, you should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.